right, everybody. I've got another very special guest for y'all. Everybody, please welcome to the show, DK Biggs. Welcome,
Hey,
DK.
hey, buddy, how you doing, man? Glad to be here.
Doing good. So, yeah, pen name DK, real name David. So,
Yeah, David will work great for conversation. Yeah, DK if you see it written somewhere.
yeah. So if you're Googling, it's DK, everybody. But David, thanks for coming on. It looks like you got a cool project, so we're definitely going to talk about that. But I got to do the thing first. Let's hear your origin story, kind of get a basis for our conversation here. What got you in the comics, and at what
Yeah.
point did you start creating them?
All right. I got into comics when I went to Cece's Pizza one day with my buddy for his birthday, and he got Blade. It was one of the first comic books I actually ever held in my hand. And so throughout middle school, I was pretty big into comic books, and I remember vaguely picking up an issue when I was in high school, my senior year, of one of the Invincibles. I don't remember being overly impressed with it at the time or anything. And like many of us, whenever Amazon brought Invincible back, I watched episode one and I was like, oh man, I remember that comic and just tore through the omnibus. And that really just got me back. Never a big novel reader, went straight through the boys and as many series as I could. Big video game guy, so I had to go through all of Injustice, year one through five, and just really binged myself into the heartlands of comics again. And through all that time when I wasn't reading comic books, I was always writing short stories and writing scripts and movies and whatnot. So, kind of perfect storm one day. I was writing something and I was like, man, I would love to deliver this into the form of a comic. And that was the first time I wrote a comic book. And so, like most comic book writers, we have like 30 in our back pocket that we've written, and we're lucky enough to start on this project here. So about a year and a half ago, I finally looked at my wife and I was like, all right, let's bring Disco Punk live. Let's see how many of these projects we can try to save for and work out. And so I disobeyed a couple of my, like, I guess mentors in it, like don't bite off as much as you can chew in the very beginning. And I did just that. So I have three projects rolling now. The first of which, and my favorite of that, Once Upon a Hive in the West, Bugs Gunsling Bug Western. So that got me from just an avid reader to a writer of comics to someone who's just really heavy in production right now and having a blast doing it.
So it sounds like to me you're doing the thing I always advise people not to do.
Exactly. I hear that.
Because, especially at Kickstarter, I find if you can get through a series and have like a completed thing at the end, that does so much goodwill for your future. And I know how tough that is because you have 100 stories in your mind right now that you want to get out there. But yeah, I think what happens with a lot of creators is they start bouncing around and people don't know. It's like, well, are they going to get
Yeah.
finished or what's going to go on? So,
Yeah. So yeah, juggling multiple projects and how you go about that. I've heard that being the big killer of like, having a series and there's seven issues of Once Upon a Hive in the West and then a Halloween special, a total of eight that we're looking to work in. And so yeah, I can see the concern of how fast are we going to be able to kick them out. Luckily, I have like I guess I could say I've put them on tiers and whatnot, right? I have one of my projects is JC, I'm a Spaceman, is solely there as an operation for us to voice act and goof off with the friends who were actually written about this.
mhm.
So going page at a time and then voice acting as we go and building momentum on it, that's one thing. Once Upon a Hive being, right now the front and forefront of what we're producing, what we're doing. And then I have a manga that's run off a completely different budget with a completely different team that's going just as quick as well. So issue after issue is our goal here, and to also kind of calm some of those concerns. So essentially, Once Upon a Hive is completely front loaded, already paid for, already ready to go, ready to press print. Any funds that we're going to be making off the Kickstarter going towards, of course, printing, shipping, getting everything out, and going straight into issue two. Billy and Jorge, my inkers and my colorers, already jumping on the bit, ready to go, ready to get the second script that I've just been staring at for a while, ready to throw at them anyway. So we're ready to just get right into it. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and halfway through on the perfect October, whether if it'll be 2026 or 2027, we would like to have our Halloween special out to you.
So this being your first project on Kickstarter, what are some of the things you like? Who were you following? Who were you talking to? What's some of the lessons you're trying to take into the first one?
So I have Man, especially if anybody is in my shoes and about to start there first, don't let anybody say it's anything less than the pre-launch is monstrous. It's you have to be very involved. A lot of graphics, a lot of marketing, a lot of just images you will need from your team far beyond just the comic book. But so I have been studying very successful and also very unsuccessful campaigns on Kickstarter just religiously. It's all I do now. In fact, my algorithm right now, I can only back so many. I swear I'm backing as many of you guys as I can, but everybody's ads are going to me. Y'all are paying for the ads, they're going to me because I've just researched so many. And also, I have a number of. William Stone is a guy who's got Soul Blaster right now, issue 2. He actually has his June 1st launch tandem with me. Been really, I'm on a basically an Instagram how would you call this like group of like comic book writer anonymous who are going through our struggles communicating together but long story short 100 peers that I've begged 1,000 questions from about what to do, what not to do, things to look out for, scams to look out for. Yeah, it's just been a ton of research. But it has been on the backs of successful and unsuccessful creators alike that are constantly coming through Kickstarter. Something that can give you high hopes and low hopes at the same time. This morning, when I looked, there's 35,000 projects out there right now. We all want ours to be a project we love and advertised by Kickstarter. And I think a number of the reasons why we try to use that is to magnify what we have with their audience as well. So having a very clean Kickstarter page, very, very understood rewards, good graphics that are on there, making sure if you're getting your CMYK, if you're going to RBG or RGB, whatever it is, I'm sick. But just making sure you have a real, real tight page has been what I've heard. Getting as many followers as you can to pre-back for you, following everything so they're keeping up with your updates. 1,000 lessons I've learned. We'll see if they come into fruition. It's kind of like bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much, and it just changes daily. Like I feel
Yeah,
like even some of those lessons are probably wrong now today.
I was looking at something, and whenever you go to Kickstarter right now, it's highlighting Magic comic books, and it'll go through periodically different themes and whatnot. I 1 day away from my Kickstarter launch, I'm like scrambling Google, where's the calendar? When is Bug Western month? I'm not sure if they'll have that, but I'm hoping it's June now. But yeah, it's a very daunting task. Do not take it lightly. Listen to your peers. And then too, I'll say this: some of the best advice I've got is from individuals telling me about what went wrong in their Kickstarter. So advice is everywhere.
Yeah, and hopefully you have a nice, healthy heart because the middle of that campaign is always rough. Doesn't matter if
I
you're
am.
Pat Shand or if you're David Biggs doing his first one. That middle ground is rough.
Yeah, I have a buddy named Frankie who is, I think he's got a day left, or he just funded yesterday. But he was 2 days away, and he was in our little mass group, and he was like, "Guys, sayonara, this one's not funding." And he was like 3 or 4 away, and then 3 or 400 away, and then sure enough, we woke up that day, and I was like, "Man, you funded, bro!" So I know him just down to the buzzer had to be just and of course, there's contingency plans if it does go wrong. This is my first one. It's the first one I've done. I even said in the risk section of it, this, being blunt, this is my first one. Have I studied my butt off? Have I talked to peers? Absolutely. But there will be, just as there has been since I started doing comics, something that I will be learning every step of the way. You walk into this, if you're goofy like me, you're like, I'm going to find an artist, I'm going to write a comic book, and I'm going to have a comic book. And that is like writing your comic book as a writer and producer and creator is like 10% of like it's like the small percentage of what's really going on. Which I think is also good advice too when they tell you, don't start too much in the beginning, find something really stick with it. Because you're going to have to give a singular thing a lot of effort. You don't want to be jumping too much. I'm happy with the way I have things layered, but if I had done 2 or 3 other projects I wanted to do, I'd be absolutely screwed right now.
Yeah, and they just don't tell creatives enough that nowadays, unless you're really lucky and you become Jason Aaron or something.
Yeah.
uh, you got to be everything. You got to be the guy making the page. You got to go out there and shoot with people like me, like talk and be able to have a conversation. And trust me,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of there's quite a few out there that can't hold a conversation. There's just so much to the process that I think normal people don't understand. It's not just I wrote words on this page. Someone draw it, please.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it is nuts. And I all the time I get I did have my buddies used to make jokes about how crazy it was, and I used to tell them, and I was like, it's actually really simple. You just do it. And that's still not wrong. That's
Mhm.
still correct. It is correct to say it is really simple. You just do it. But I had no clue what the levels of just do it was that I was telling them that I was about to just go do. And so, like I said, after the script is done, yeah, it's a lot of marketing, learning ratios and algorithms and the actual social media part of it was a wild aspect that I never considered until the moment you get it done. Like exactly, the moment you get a script and an artist ready, you're like, oh wow, that's the entirety. That's a large piece of this. And there are awesomely, a lot of people to look up to in social media that I flip through and see all the time. I'm like, okay, this is how they did it, how they started, and it's good to see their origin stories, as you put it earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of advice that I give. I have nephews who are, 20, 22 range, and they're just getting out there and they're always asking, like, I don't know what to do next and just in life and everything. I go, you just got to do it. It sounds stupid and every old person's going to tell you that, but it's
yeah,
true. You just got to go do it. Like,
yeah,
make the effort
100%.
and get yourself out there. Otherwise, you're
Yeah,
going to sit there planning it for the rest of your life.
100%. And well, yeah, and you'll
Yeah.
be, everybody's thing is they always say, I should have started this 10 years ago. Like that was my thing when I started. I was like, man, I should have started this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like I have all these silly paintings and like charcoals and stuff behind me. And like I love painting just as much as I love writing. And I never knew that. And I'm learning. I'm very, very new. But it's one of those things that every day I'm like, man, I wish I would have started this 10 years ago. Like how different would everything be? Um, but yeah, just start. And I don't know why too. I feel like as humans, we're conditioned to think that creators or artists or singers or songwriters are of like a different cut of people. Like someone is that writer because they are that writer. No, they were like absolutely just like, but just did it. They just did it also. Like I understand we still got 9 to 5. I have 9 to 5. I'll be going in tomorrow. But when I come home, and probably majority throughout mass of my workday, I'll be doing this Kickstarter. I'll be launching all that. I'll be marketing like crazy.
Yeah. There's an old interview with Alan Moore that I always reference where he's talking about the writing process. And he's a firm believer, as insane as that man can be, he's a
Yeah,
firm
he's
believer
wild.
that like there's no magic. It's
Yeah,
just work. Like you just go and do it. I'm not special. I didn't sign a deal with the devil. I didn't
yeah.
do some magical spell to make me good at writing. I just worked at it constantly, and that's why he got where he was. And I'm like,
I
if
I
that man's
do.
telling you that, then people
Yeah,
should listen.
I do believe that wholeheartedly. But also, I have to say on the tail end to an extent because I do think like while I'm goofing off with my buddies, like the other day I heard about like hamsters hibernate, and most owners don't know that, so a lot of hamsters get thrown away. So the moment I heard of that, so I was just like talking to my buddies, and I was like, okay, bam, you wake up, you're in a dumpster, you're between a mice and a rat war. What's going on? You're the hamster.
Mhm.
Let's go. Like you're like Conan the Barbarian.
Yep.
And then they're like, no, I don't like doing that. That's not fun. I can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, you can do that. But at the same time, I think it's just like some kids, I guess, maybe had too much friends and didn't get imagination or something like that. And perhaps we are the lucky few. But I do agree with like any art, just like writing, like Alan Moore said, it's you just practice it and
Yep.
did it, and it got better and better.
I think a lot of people have that beaten out of them over the years too. Like it's not looked upon to be creative
Yeah,
or
I
to
agree.
be imaginative, especially as you get older. In our generation, I'd like to believe you're on the same age as me.
Yeah,
Our
I believe
generation
so.
kind of changed that. I mean, look behind both of us right now. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure our father's houses don't look like this. So,
Well, not at all. Well, what's funny is they had like ADHD and autism on different spectrums. My dad also has a whole bunch of model trains. You know what I mean? It's like my granddad collected forks. So it's like, I guess they were weird, but like, no, like, I agree with what you're saying. My son does stop motion animation and is rad at it. My daughter, who's far too young to be good at coloring, and when I say coloring, I mean our type of coloring. I put her on my iPad and Procreate, and I give her line art. And her at 5 can throw down colors, man, and lasso and do all these things. And so, like, I'm very proud to have a house that's full of art. A lot of this back behind me is my children's, and then I have a whole bunch of goofy stuff elsewhere. But yeah, I'm real happy to have grown up in an era to where my mother was super big into me doing art. I was a big football player too, so my dad, I guess, had what he wanted. So, but that saying now, he's like the biggest fan of this now. Like, I'll make a joke to him. We were driving past somewhere not too long ago, and they had these big megaphones on power, like just all these big poles near this community, and I guess it was to speak to the community or a siren or something. So I started doing what I do with my friend. I'm like, Dad, post dystopian, that right there, that's how they listen to everything. That's why I started making those jokes, and he was just tickled pink about it. But it's also like, if I was 15 telling him that story, he'd been like, boy, like,
We need to go out back and play some football.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
No, I was telling my stepkids something similar. Where like, they're both at that age where they're trying to figure out who they are and where they, and high school. Not well, neither of them in high school, but school is everything. Like that's their entire world. And I'm like, listen, I was the weird. I was listening to punk rock, skateboarding. I was on the football
Hmm.
team. I was playing Pokemon and Magic the Gathering while reading comics. I didn't fit
Right,
in any clique.
right.
I fit in like 8 cliques. So there's no you don't have to be this one thing. You can be like so many
Yeah,
different things, and it just let you be you, and you'll find your tribe eventually. And
yeah.
yeah,
I think they get wise enough at one point to feel that. And I have youngins too. I got a kid in middle school, and it's like, yeah, everything's just so serious. Like you said,
yeah,
everything's just so important. So that, and my son was stressing out about TCAPS the other day, which is like the Tennessee big testing thing. And I was just like, I hate to break this to you, son. You should really pay attention because sixth grade TCAP is going to determine what you do for the rest of your life. It's going to be, if you're going to be digging ditches or if you're going to be the president, it's going to be decided right now in fifth grade TCAPs. So, dude, take a deep breath, man. Man, he's a great kid. Like I said, stop motion animation. My kid's just a big art household. I love it, man.
yeah. There's no reason to be stressing about that at that age. Just go have
Yeah,
fun. I mean,
yeah,
take stuff seriously. Try to get some work ethic, but just have fun.
yeah. You get the work ethic. That's what they want out of it. But like,
Yeah, yeah. So we went a bit of a tangent there. So who have you reached out to any other creators to do any kind of like cross promotion stuff when this gets launched? Have any of the creators you've been talking to been
you
interested
know,
in doing something to help you and hopefully help them out?
Again, William Stone of Obsidian Stone Comics. He has Soul Shifter right now, or Soul Blaster right now, and we have done some cross posting a little bit. We have not done, and I'm just new to understanding that at some point in time, is like to offer digital copies of other individuals or people can get together and kind of, I guess, cross solicit product through that Kickstarter, especially for an individual like me that only has so much product to offer. So I have not done so with my Kickstarter just yet. Again, I've cross promoted. I've been on or shared a number of our teammate comic book creators information via my socials, but not in a Kickstarter founding type of way.
How are you with socials, or have you gained a lot of traction there? Or?
So it's funny. I have like 1,200 followers on Instagram, but like no traction there aside from like a group that I'm in. And then like I got my thing like up to like 500 now on TikTok, and then like always have great major traction there. And like Facebook, which is where I started everything, because like I'm like an old person and did not have TikTok before this happened. I did not have TikTok or Instagram before this happened. I just had my old Facebook. And so I started like there. My buddy was just like, man, you got to start posting. And I'm like, oh, I'm posting every day. They're like, on what? And I was like, Facebook. And they're like, oh, you're old. You got to do more than just that. So So I'm very new to that. But anyways, I got 500 there and I get great traction. Facebook, I get like terrible traction. But I more so use that to like communicate with creators and artists. And then TikTok is where I've actually gotten. We'll see how it goes. I'm trying to track and see if I do any type of ads. Is it actually going to come bring anything to fruition? Is it just going to? Is it sending bots to my page to look at it? Am I getting like active, possible, comic book readers?
I've always been curious about that because I've heard from creators that the ads work, but my question ends up: did you pay more in ads than you would have gotten in
Yeah.
backing?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. But like the ads, certain like I'm again, and this is such a hard way to go about it because I'm actually constantly looking at these ads for research. So I am now a targeted person for it to send me those ads. So if you were to
Yeah.
ask me, I'd say, yeah, the ads work because I see them all the time. But also too, I am also the guy that will back a project I see that I like. And so, I don't want it doesn't need to go into this snake eating world to where it's just creators buying creators. You do want actual fandoms and comic book readers out
Yeah.
there. Um, so I don't know. Again, this is my first one. We'll see. But I am going to do, I think, a little bit of adage on TikTok, and then the Facebook and Instagram is tied together. I don't plan on spending a crazy amount doing it. But I definitely want to do enough to see if that is something that I'm going to do in the future. Because, like I said, after this, there's a number of different campaigns that I plan on launching just as soon as I can, within respects of making sure all my fulfillment's taken care of.
Yeah. Do you have some sort of like timeline set up for all those? Or
I do. I do because I have Ricky Recoil is a manga I'm working on that I absolutely love just as much. I love Once Upon a Hive. It has humans, so in my opinion, it's a little bit more marketable. Just because people can see. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Because I love my little wasp. We'll see if the world's does. Um, but it's a manga. It's moving very fast. I don't plan on launching it until a certain time. There's also some anime cons coming up in Memphis that I want to have it ready for. But I also have a buddy, my colorist, Jorge Elias, who has his own comics. He's with Fiction Comic, and The Fallen Seven is a project he's been working on for a while. And I'd like to see if sometime this year, um, depending on which is going to happen first, Ricky Rico or Fallen Seven, helping him to see if I can get him to kickstart this and helping him under DiscoPunkComics. But that's also too. It's I'm going to see the reality of how this goes with my first one.
yeah.
It's a lot easier to put in the work that it takes to have a successful Kickstarter when it's your pride and joy and your baby.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I'm up to snuff, have enough following or whatever it is like that to solicit someone else's comic book successfully in a Kickstarter form.
Well, yeah, and the reality that I know you've thought of is all these plans go out the door if it doesn't fund. So
100% to an extent. I have what I call contingency plans in funding to where I can print off X amount of copies and still try to work them the way I want to, still take them to cons and everything like that. But really, it's everybody's dream goal is this, right? Let me just lay it out there and tell me if I'm wrong as a newbie, but I know this is everybody's dream, and let's call it that. Is that say you can get this Kickstarter funded, and it can start to be the juice to get issue two, and then the next Kickstarter is the juice to get issue three, and to kind of have in a way and praying God, and plus whatever budget you have to put in it, help them be somewhat self-sufficient by the fandom at a certain point. Start getting the issues out there at a consistent pacing, to where the fandom has something to expect and watch on to. A lot of the indie creators I've said has been the biggest killer that they felt in their series was the gaps that it took between issue two, issue three, issue four, and that staying consistent is very important for the fandom. Um, Once Upon a Hive, with the high demand, this is traditional penciling and inking with a very odd project with, anthropomorphized bugs that are given genuine emotion, that are telling an actual story as if they're not bugs. So my penciler and inker has a job for him. So I need to make sure too, I'm being realistic as to how fast this is going to be created, as
Mhm.
opposed to a digital manga I have that this guy could probably pick me out an issue every month or two if he wanted to, if we were in budget to do so.
Yeah.
So again, keeping things consistent. I would love nothing more than to every 5 months have a Once Upon a Hive in and out. I'd like to have 2 issues a year, and so I can get it done. I would like to have a faster pace on that in the future. It's just one of those things that we're going to have to see how this works. But again, that dream is to eventually have a title be self sufficient in its own funding by its fandom, by its success. But of course, that takes thousands of Kickstarter and money in between from a creator. I'm gonna make sure my wife will still allow me to foot these types of bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and the reality is that you hope that it breaks somewhat even, so that you can
Hmm.
make money when you collect it.
Right. Right. Oh yeah. Oh, you're trying to make money? Hold on. I'll get there. I'm gonna get to where I'm trying to make money. I promise. Let me not say that too loud and wake up everybody in the house. But yeah, absolutely. I had a guy that gave me a really inspirational conversation one time. I was speaking with him, and let me see if I can pull up his information here. Matter of fact, because it's so hard for me to say the title of this thing, but I want to give this guy a shout out. He gave me some just ridiculous advice. Oh, let me find him for you, buddy. Okay, Symphonic Verses. I don't know if you've heard of Symphonic Verses, but this guy is getting a Tubi and Prime TV show made right now from his comic that he's been working on from like the early 90s. Visually, it's like ridiculously stunning. But anyways, he gave me advice about just getting it out. And he's not talking about sacrificing quality. He's not talking about trying to rush everything, cheat everything, make everything cheap. But he was talking about how him and his wife were working on something. It was her story, and he was writing it, and it was her story, and he was illustrating everything. And they got like a big two solid issues worth of content in, but they wanted to release like a big 300 pager. Had to be a big 300 pager, and they did all this. They took a break. Life happened. Bill's life happened. About 5 years later, they come back to it. They start back on it, and then later that night, after being so excited, tasting champagne, we're back on our project. They turn on True Detective. And True Detective, in his opinion, he said it's exactly the story that we had written 5 years ago. And so he was just like, that was my favorite story I've ever done. He's like, but I can't redo True Detective. They already did it. But he was talking about, and he now he's successful. He's got all this crazy stuff going on. That's because he just wholeheartedly, without a beat, just kept pumping out these stories to whatever capacity he could. And that's kind of what I'd like to do for Once Upon a Hive and for Rookie Ricky Recoil. Just stand on ground with as much passion as I can, with as much kuspa as I can, consistently push these things out so that you get the story. We get to fall in love with these characters the way I have, which is pretty much the goal of everybody else. I don't know why I'm saying it as original, but yeah, get your stories out. Don't wait until you have a 300 page yada yada. And if you're like, I was going to start with a 60 pager, and I saw somebody on Instagram say this the other day, like every illustrator is amazing until you hand them a 60-page manga. Then like this is hard to do. So it's about respecting your artist, respecting yourself, giving yourself limitations. I digress.
And the fact of the matter is OGNs don't do well
Yeah,
financially, or
yeah,
and people don't like to hear the word financially or profit or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, if you're losing money every time you make one of these, eventually you're gonna wear yourself
yeah.
out.
It is. They're big projects. I've
Yeah.
also heard horror stories about, people having 120 page graphic novels they're going to do. They're 40 pages in. They get the Kickstarter funding, 80 pages, especially if you're relying on a single artist to do this. 80 pages is a long time for somebody. So you need to make sure not everybody else in this world is financially stable. Everybody can lose a job. There are things that can happen. I've heard horror stories of people getting 15 grand, 16 grand of funding and then not finishing the project.
Mhm.
And that's horrifying to me. So that's why too is Disco Punk 2, as I like to say, as of now and until things change in the future, I'm planning to have everything done to a T before we get to the Kickstarter. I just like this we're waiting to press print right now. Just seeing what demand is and which covers we're buying more of.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you should treat it. Is the book should be done. This is basically a pre-buy process.
Yeah, it's a pre-sale process with
Yeah.
additional somebody else's audience. I agree completely.
Yeah.
But I see all the time, I see on Facebook, and I'm on a number of different groups, and some guy will be out there, and it's just like, I've written the script of my dreams, 120 pages. I'm looking for an artist to side by side, and just and we're gonna split however much money it makes and everything, and like, it sucks, and I see those people get pounded. And I want to pull them aside nicely and just be like, "Hey, this is really how it works." Like, just in a nice way, because you see them just get crushed in comments, and they're just coming with a dream, and they just don't know about the world yet. They just don't know how the indie comic book creation really takes. And I was one of those people that walked into it. First artist I approached was not a comic book artist, and that was a huge like hurdle that I didn't understand. That I didn't understand what I was asking of that artist.
Hmm.
But yeah, when you need to, when you come in when you're ready to hire an artist, when you've got your script ready, I do advise taking just solid time to research the world, how it works, talk to strangers, as many strangers as you can about their experience and what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I've been advocate of, I think what you described, that guy got destroyed on in the comments. I
Hmm.
wish that's the way it was. Because I think the old adage that the artist spends more time on the project is just no longer true and is bullshit.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
writer spends way more time and takes all the liability of the project, but it's never gonna happen. Like
yeah,
that's not how things got set up, and there's a reason for that. I mean, people got screwed.
yeah,
People don't know about contracts. People are from other countries, and so some of that stuff doesn't work
yeah.
over in those countries. There's just a million reasons why it doesn't work, as much as we'd all love it to be that way.
Yeah. And it is, and I thought that, and I remember I at one point in time, and I said, and I was like, I don't understand how it's an artist market. It should be a writer's market. And at the same time, like I as someone who actively right now practices daily, whether if it's painting, line work, charcoals, or whatever on physical art, to one day do my own variant covers. To maybe one day when I'm in my 40s or whatever, late 40s, whatever it's gonna be, am I gonna be good enough to illustrate my own? I do. It's hard to say it properly, but I do understand the action that what it takes to do physical art,
Hmm.
and it's a lot easier to catch a fraud in physical art than it is in written word. Um, if that means anything, you know what I mean? I think you have to sit down and read the written word to catch a fraud. You can glance at an artist and call one out.
Hmm.
And I guess it's what I mean by that. I don't think it's a harder discipline to do when it talks about fully structured writing, but there are also a lot of authors out there that don't do fully structured writing. Man, they've never written before. Or, you help a buddy, you read a script, and you're like, gee, yeah. But I'm sure artists feel the same way about people, asking for pointers. As they see something, it's part of the process.
Yeah, definitely. So I would love to have a quick philosophical question for you, because you keep talking about this other project you got and you're calling it a manga. So for you, what makes manga a manga?
So let me just call it this then. It is a flipped manga. It does read left to right. Basically, it's just that the stylize of it. The artist that I've hired for it as well. So it's trying to pay homage to, I guess, that type of that Japanese manga art style. Also, it's heavily inspired by a lot of the different animes, much more that I've watched than superhero comic books that I've watched. And this to me, I made jokes when I first started writing comic books because traditionally I write sci-fi and horror, and I used to write the one shots is what I used to really want to do. But I told myself I'm never writing superhero comics. I'm never writing superhero comics. I'm never writing superhero comics. So this one's a superhero manga. It's kind of how it came to be. It's a story that kind of has been in my head for a long time. And when I actually was hiring for the artist. I said specifically, I was like, I'm looking for just Western American comics. Western American. I'm not looking for a manga artist. I get so many submissions from manga artists when it's not a manga project. Just no, 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 no.
Hmm.
Hired some guy that was Western. And then something fell through, and this was like before I paid him. I was like looking to get his information to pay him. Hey, let me pay you for the first whatever up front. We'll start working on X and Y. And he just completely bailed. And then this number two, who I really liked, but it was manga, and I was like, all right, hey man, this is a page. Give me this page. Give me your vision on it. Blah 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 blah. And then he sent me that page back, and I was like, awesome. Ricky Rico is a manga, and I didn't know. So it's a flipped manga. It's still going to read left to right. It's traditionally a comic book as it could be, but it's just stylized in the Japanese anime art form.
Yeah, because my hill to die on is that manga is just comics. It's 6 panel comics is all it is.
They're back and you can call them synonymous. I used to like heavily argue the difference between a graphic novel and a comic too, and now I'm just like page count. Like it's all they're all the same. I guess I could say I call it a manga literally because I'm not kidding because I'm never gonna do a superhero comic book.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. I feel it's the same thing. I've read plenty of them that were old school, right to left too. I read DBZ to my son. When we read cool storybooks when he was a baby, it was Dragon Ball. So I read a bunch of those. He fell in love with those a while back. But no, it's just with the story that I have is much more synonymous with a traditional anime
Yeah.
than anything Western by a fault. So like, and it's funny I didn't see that until I saw it in art form, then started rereading my script and seeing how much it really was adapted from a lot of different series that I appreciated.
Yeah, I was talking to my stepson about this yesterday actually, because we went to the store and I hate putting barriers between things, and he's
Uh-huh.
like he loves manga, and we're talking about I was like yeah it's all comics like it's all the same, it's a different art style, it's a different culture, so you're getting a different kind of storytelling. I said but Astro Boy is just Japan's Superman, like it all falls in the same umbrella. We just had to put this barrier on it for some reason, and I think it comes down to internet and tribalism and kids being kids. Like I don't read comics, I read manga, Dad. And it's like, okay, you read
I
comics.
was I was talking to my buddy Kevin, shout out Kevin Davis. I was talking to him just the other day, about how, oh shoot, what was I gonna say? He's a big kaiju guy and was going off into everything, and I was like, we have entire monster verses and everything in the Western culture. Like you keep on speaking on kaiju as if it's a completely different realm of things,
Hmm.
but like you said, it comes from a different type of storytelling. But he was going off really, really heavily, and I did Google this because we had a discrepancy about it. But it's like they say that 70% of all of this graphic novelized content is being purchased as manga globally, and about 30% of it being what we consider Western comics. That's really got the hold of thing is that Oni is I don't know if they're outperforming Image or Dark Horse or how that's going, but them being like the number one guys of indie right now. Which to me it doesn't. I enjoy both. So it's really to me it's just kind of like you know Pixar or it's all the same animation to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. It's people who, and you see this at comic shops too. Like you go to my local comic shop, he has a little bookshelf, and when I say little, I mean little, of
Yeah.
manga, and I'm like, why not just to me, why not just throw that in with all the other trades you have?
Yeah.
It's all comics. Like, and the reason is that certain people come in just for manga, and I don't
Yeah.
understand that mentality of if it's a good story, it's a good story. I mean, some of the best comics ever made are manga, and vice versa.
I
So
agree.
the people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
don't want to read it, I'm like, guys, come on, you're missing out on some amazing art and some amazing storytelling. So
Yeah.
I
And it
just
really is.
I've been on my hill, been like, guys, come on, let's
Like
stop
God,
fighting.
I have been specifically calling Ricky Recoil flipped manga because
Hmm.
apparently that's what the terminology is for basically it's not really a manga. It's just you're just using that art style,
Yeah.
and that's I googled it around too. But so there's this anime con I'm trying to get it prepped for and everything like that, and that was the exact question. I was like, well, how manga is it? But at least that makes me feel good. As like, is it's like, well, it's a finger regardless. Let's not worry about if it's a thumb.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah, friend of the show, Tyler Carpenter makes manga. Air
yeah,
quotes for the audio people.
yeah,
And and talking with him, I'm like, oh, the only difference is how you have a little bit of a anime art style, like the big eyes, the
yeah.
overexpression, the those types of things. And I get it. There's an appeal to that. Certain people want that. But for me, just as the debate, because so I know people that only read DC comics. I know people that only
Yeah,
read Marvel comics.
right.
Some people have their taste and what they like and everything. So I'm not trying to get on anybody for that. But in terms of like trying to grow the industry, I'm just like, guys, if we just stop trying to fight with manga and realize that they're a part of what we're doing.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny is there is a subtle difference that cracked me up that my artist wanted to point out in my writing. So the guy that I have doing Rick Recoil, Atari, he goes by. He first time I've ever had, well, I always have a letterer so far. I've had a letterer separate from my illustrators,
Mhm.
but this, because it so ties into the way the manga flows as that type of feel, he's been doing the lettering. And just on a previous page, he was like, hey, I lettered it the way you wanted it, but here's another example of the way I would do it. And it really was because it was a kind of a dramatic scene to where somebody's got their arm blow off and somebody's trying to help somebody. And in the American Western way I did it, the person's almost angry, like, well, like I told you this would happen. Tell me how to help you. We're in a bad way or whatever. But in the anime, it came over. He did it like a much more concerning verbiage, and I was like, it works so much better. It really did, for it to just be like, oh no. But in the American stylized way, I was like, no, this is your fault, idiot. And it really did, just like the artistic style of the paneling of the page. And I was like, I can see my main character being less of a jerk about this.
It's a lesson you're gonna learn 1,000 times, man. Of the artist is
Yeah.
better than you
That's 100. Well, I try not to do. They said the
in terms of the
complete
visual
Marvel
style, I
method.
should say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, like they said, like, the Marvel method too, in terms of like fighting and stuff like that. Whenever you get into these big fight scenes, and aside from Ricky Recoil, there's a number of good fights throughout this series. Once Upon a Hive in the West,
Hmm.
but essentially you're going to get a lot of gunslinging in it. A lot of it's a lot of good dialogue build up, and which I take back. There's a whole bunch in issue 2 that we're about to get started on that is very grapply and violency and throw aroundy, but I haven't had to Marvel method anything to where I'm just like, hey, they're fighting, have fun. Um, you have any experience in that? You familiar?
So what little I've written over the years,
Yeah,
I'm much more lax with my artists, and especially when
yeah,
it comes to a fight scene. The few times I've done a fight scene, I'm like, listen, he's got to start here and end here. Have fun with
yeah.
it.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, but I know plenty of writers who will script out the entire fight because like this is part of the flow of their story is like how the character
Right.
fights.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I don't consider myself a writer, so
Oh, sorry.
I've just been
Right
lucky
on.
enough been asked to do some things over the years.
No, right. All right. All
Yeah.
right. No, I love it, man. So yeah, I haven't had to Marvel method, I guess I'd say. But yeah, I'd say when I came to Billy Mackay Kanza is the penciler and inker for Once Upon a Hive, and if you see some of this artwork, it really it was coming to him. It was I knew I was demanding a lot because we're anthropomorphizing different types of bugs. We're also keeping them to a very specific Western style. And the funniest conversation, and I've been saying this every time I have an excuse to say this, the funniest conversation is that in this story, there are brothel maiden butterflies, which means they're like the barkeep girls and all this and all that. And when I first came to Billy, we already had our male paper wasps and our locust gunslinger outlaws built, and we already had those taken care of. And so when we get to these butterflies, he sends me one, and they're very large shoulder and rigid and just not attractively feminine. And I had to come to a guy about butterflies and be like, hey, look, man, like I know they're butterflies. Hear me out. Hear me out. I said, now how are we gonna sultry up some butterflies? And Jorge, who is a highly respectable man and does not do any not safe for work or anything like that, and I was like, so I mean, typically in the old west, they'd just be wearing like lingerie and like a sun hat. Can we work with that? And sure enough, I get an email from Billy, and I click it open, and it is a butterfly in 100% lingerie like this, with a martini glass and a sun hat. And I was like, all right, let's move on to let's move on to the next characters. That's a wrap on that one. That's perfect.
And I quickly had to go in the next room so my wife didn't see it.
That's right. That's right. I even too. There's been one or two scenes where I'm just like, "Hey, is that too much?" And she's like, "I mean, I get it." like, but if there's any big fans of Invincible out there, and Dressa, the second wife of Omni Man, the blue insect people. I always forget the name of their people. Um, but
Yeah.
anyways, the blue insect people were about the only visual reference I could find in a world that would amplifies bugs the way I needed to happen. And then so we took that, looked at it, shook our head no, and then made them more buggy. So you'll see throughout with I'm very happy with how everything came out with Billy and Jorge. It really is a wacky, but still very gritty. And you laugh when I say this, but like Tarantino-esque issue one is very gritty, very dialogue driven. Get to meet a lot of the characters here. If I could just say, if I could take a step back and speak about the series.
I was gonna say
So,
real quick, jump in. I was gonna say we should probably do kind of the what's the book about real quick because I feel like we're
right,
gonna jump
yeah.
into the book as a whole now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take a step. Let's take a moment to that. So, Once Upon a Hive in the West, right? All right, so essentially, yeah, this is a 7 issue series and a Halloween special. But what this story is going to be about is going to follow Slick Prick Paperwing as he kind of defies the rules of the kind of bug nature. So you'll find the theme in this story is every winter, 95% of this species dies. The near entirety dies when the cold comes in if they haven't died earlier. Now, what's going to happen is these queens bury themselves with the long help of the fall drones, which is a male wasp, and the queen alone wakes up in the next year and births the next generation. So we actually follow the life cycle of the meanest paper wasp to ever live in Bisbee, Arizona, which is our Wild West, All Drop Pop Pop. Now, All Drop Pop Pop in issue one wants to be the first spring wasp to ever live long enough to feel winter, and he is a mean, nasty dude. And along his way, he builds a big name for himself, ripping the wings off of other wasps in order to kind of make his infamous notoriety. So he comes across Slick Prick Paperwing. Now, the series itself is going to follow Slick Prick Paperwing as he has survived from one season to the next by burying himself like a queen, and he's being haunted by the wasps that took his wings, which is All Drop Pop Pop, and he's losing his mind through a very epic revenge story. So if I could elevator pitch it for you real quick, because I'm a better writer than I am Rambler.
Yeah. What's your pitch? It's what meets what.
All right. So basically, if you're a fan of Tombstone, if you're a fan of Rango, if you are a comic book fan and you are cool enough to have ever read Gunslinger Spawn, this is super here for you. Now, this is going to take very gritty, dialogue driven Quentin Tarantino esque with a very bright, vibrant world of bugs and outlaws. But we have Slick Prick Paperwing becomes the first drone to live through the cold of winter, outgunning lawmen, gangs, and the beasts of the Bisbee Wild on his way. With his trusty horsefly Famine, awakened into the new spring to find familiar faces seeking revenge. Haunted and guided by the ghost of outlaws that took his wing, Slick Prick Paperwing discovers his sanity is slipping due to the unavoidable truth that drones were born to die. The consequences of his seasonal survival mount as he differs reality from his delusional failing mind. In issue one, an epistle for Pop Pop, we drop you into the world of Bisbee, introducing you to Slick Prick Paperwing's nightmare, All Drop Pop Pop, the nastiest paperwing to ever wear the irons.
Nice.
Um, But it really does break it up into a huge Ponderosa world that I tried to keep small in 7 issues. There's a lot of faces and a lot of characters you'll meet throughout the series who are all basically here to ruin Slick Paperwing's day. It does kind of go in an episodic fashion to where every time you're going to need a new villain who's popping through to give Slick Brick his what, and we'll figure out how Pop Pop or All Drop Pop Pop sticks around and stays a favorite of the series.
So I got to ask first of all, because obviously it's the first thing you see. Where'd you find your artist?
I found my it's so you know what's funny is I decided I was going to do this project on a Wednesday. I had written it all out, and like I said, you really pick which projects you're going to do because you have a lot of things in your pocket and you want to make sure you can focus on them. And I was flipping through and saw Billy had just posted a he did pencils for a scene that was a fistful of dollars. But it was a movie scene, but he paneled it out. And it was just something that he had posted on a Facebook group that said that, basically he's a penciler and he was looking for work. And I think he had very limited ink experience and was not even interested in doing inks. But I saw his art and then I sent him a DM and I was like, hey, and I was just like, I see here you're not comfortable with inks. Show me what you're working with. Show me what you got. And he sent me more and more of his art over, and then like he had a really Western style that stood out. And so I was okay. Here's what I'm looking for, but I was like, it's gonna be weird. It's about bugs. Like, how do you feel? I was like, he had a whole bunch of traditional Western characters, humans,
Hmm.
human being characters, and they were very talented. But yeah, I had to kind of coax him over to the dark side, like, hey, come and play with me real quick. And then the moment he started laying inks down, I was like, man, stop second guessing yourself, go for it. And it just got better and better with every page. I mean, watch him get even within the 24 pages that we got him here. Awesome, great work. It really stands apart to me, and so I was like, all right, so we got to find a colorist. I already had a colorist in mind that had done some more, traditional westerns, superhero type stuff. That he had introduced me to Jorge, which is the colorist here. I said I wanted to keep everything very cartoony and flat. Yeah, I still wanted to stay gritty with a lot of texture, but I did say specifically I wanted to have a little bit of cartoon element to it that I think Jorge captured outstanding.
Yeah. Is this the penciler? Is it his first full comic he's done?
Yes, this is his first full comic. And
Wow.
then he has done a number of variant covers for Fiction Comics, which is Jorge Elias's group.
Uh huh.
They're kind of in a group together. He's one of the handful of pencilers, and it was just this Western approach he had to things. And I had spoken to him about it. And when he started practicing a lot of perspective. He just happened to be kind of a Western movie buff like me. He liked spaghetti Westerns
Hmm.
and had taken that inspiration. And so for me to come across a guy who literally, and a lot of his foundations of what he built to himself to be as a illustrator was in this Western approach. And then we just tweaked it and he crushed making some bugs. And so
I,
I love it, man.
I mean this with all due respect and love, but I think he's an insane person because the amount of detail in these panels is insane.
Yes.
I sometimes I look at I think of this old story that Jim Lee tells where he drew the bottom of Batman's boot and drew the tread into it, and then
Yeah.
thought afterwards like, why the fuck did I do that? Like now I gotta do that every time we see his
Yeah.
foot. And I think the same thing in this. The hive. I'm assuming it's the hive in the first couple
Yeah.
of pages, and he's got
Yeah.
a honeycomb background throughout
Yeah.
it. And even the queen's crown, like all the little jewels he adds to it. It's crazy. I
From
can't believe he's never done anything before.
from her structures, he has done I think he's done a fair amount of penciling for fiction. He
Yeah.
has never inked his own full interiors. And it just keeps going. There's the final the final sample page that I have listed here on the Kickstarter. is my favorite page, probably of the comic book, because there's so much personality in it. And it's the tail end of somebody's monologue. So I didn't have to keep things linear. This is just snapshots of a lot of the chaos that took place.
Hmm.
And it sets up the tone of the series in itself. If you looked at this page, and it's censored right now for Kickstarter because they were like, man, way too much. And I was like, okay, we'll dial it back. A lot of blood splatter galore kind of going on. But if you just this page, and anybody listening right now, the final page of the Kickstarter, this is page 6 in the comic book. This to me is a snapshot of what this entire series is. Is it a goofy bug western? Yes. But we play with tropes of cowboys versus aliens, cowboys versus dinosaurs, cowboys versus zombies. There's every type of western trope thrown in with a really cool type of entomology and study of bugs. And I even made a joke, and I was like, you're gonna learn things about bugs you didn't know while you're reading this. And I'm not educating you. You're just gonna figure it out along the way. There's a number of themes that take place. But page 6, if you want to take a look at it, I think that's a highlight of Billy's skill, a highlight of Jorge's skill. If you read it, it's a highlight of my skill. And it's just a fun, great page. And that will 100% be a stretch goal. I'm going to have that black and white print, and I'm going to have it signed for everybody.
Very nice. I So the censored thing, did Kickstarter actually reach out to you and say, "Wait, we need to dial it back"?
So this is, I don't know. I read about this just recently. Kickstarter went on some group pulling back on a bunch of non-safe for work stuff and a
Hmm.
whole bunch of violent stuff, and then immediately said, "Never mind, our bad." Um, that took place during this. So, because I was cracking up to myself, because I don't know if you go on Kickstarter, but half of it's just like it's this close to porn. Like some of the comic books are straight, just like it's just pinups and stuff like that. So when they came to me, they're like, "Hey, you need to censor this. There's too much blood splatter. It's whatever." I had half a mind to be like, "Dude, like y'all can. It's just a little bit of bug blood, you know." But they did say, "Hey, you need to come and censor everything." So I censored these. I had to in order for them to approve it.
Yeah, from my understanding, Stripe came in and said like we're not doing this because they behind the scenes Stripe's been saying, yeah, we're not processing that payment. We're not going to be involved with that. And Kickstarter's been kind of like, well, fuck, what do we do? And fighting with them back and forth. So that decision was to basically say like we can't keep fighting with Stripe.
So what happened? So what was the so?
So Stripe's the payment process that you're using.
Uh huh.
Anyone doesn't know Stripe, pretty much every creator on the internet is using Stripe. If I get ad revenue, it goes through Stripe.
Right.
And Kickstarter uses it as the background for their payment process. So when your project eventually funds and you wait the whatever it is 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get your funds, it's going through Stripe. And Stripe has their own code of conduct saying, we're not going to deal with these things. And a lot of it's the stuff you would want them to deal with, child exploitation and rape
Right.
and yeah, blah, blah, blah. And but some of it is about porn. And so, and to be honest and fair, a lot of the not safe for work stuff is teetering that edge. And I know there's that old saying, I forget the politician who said it, but like I don't know how to define porn, but I know it when I see
I
it.
know when I see it. I think
And
Miss Roosevelt. Yeah.
yeah, and then everybody has their own version of that. So Stripe
Yeah.
as a company was saying for years now, we're not going to process that payment because we're not going to be involved with porn. And it was mostly not safe for workbooks.
Oh, so that's why they
Kickstarter,
were.
yeah, Kickstarter went back and forth with Stripe saying, but it's just, it's art, it's blah, 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 blah. And they'd win most of them and lose some of them. So there are creators that weren't getting the funds that people paid and
Wow.
then having to cancel their projects.
Wow.
So from what I saw with Kickstarter, they said, we're kind of done arguing with Stripe. So we're just going to put a kibosh on it. Now, I've heard from many creators, and I agree. You could do some sort of age verification process, like a lot
Yeah.
of websites do. It's not perfect, but it's something. You could kind of other these projects and put them in a not safe for work banner. So if you're now over 18, you can't even see them. I know it's not great, and nobody likes censorship, but you got to live in the world. So
Yeah, it didn't. I laughed about it.
yeah,
It made me feel happy.
yeah,
So it was like this is my first one. I was super stressed about it. I submitted it, and I was like, "Oh gosh, man, am I gonna be a project they love, man?" And I'm
yeah.
like, "So I am." I forgot what happened. I'm having a shit day. I'm having a terrible day. I'm
Uh-huh.
walking through Target with my family, which means I don't know if you go to Target with your wife, but I'm about to lose $300. So I'm in the middle of Target and I look at my phone and I'm like, oh gosh, it's from Kickstarter, and I'm so nervous and I go through it and immediately it's just like, oh, none of your content is very, very graphic. And I was like, you know what? Success. This is a graphic. This is it's I meant it to be that way. You know, I
Yeah.
was like, it's supposed to be bloody. He's ripping somebody in half. This is a comic book.
Yeah.
And so I laughed at it, and it honestly made my day so much better. And it took me 3 minutes to throw together. Like I just re-censored them and re-put them up there. Um, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I censored them.
I don't have a strong opinion on how to deal with it because like it's tough because you have kids, you know, there's certain things you don't want
Yeah.
your kids to see.
Well, it's
Um,
like it's I don't know. The kids see everything. I don't know. I have a 13-year-old boy right now, you know, and it's God forbid he see a wasp rip off another wasp's
yeah,
wings. You
it's
know what I mean?
the
It's
joke
cartoon violence.
joke I make with
My,
the missus because her son is 14, and
yeah.
when he's not around everybody because I'm a responsible human being, I promise. But when, we'll be joking, she'll say something, and I'll just be like, "You gave him the internet. He's seen donkey porn. Like it's over."
it's
And she just like, "Don't
it's
even
out
say
there.
that. Don't say that."
Well, you know, at the same time too, my son at 13, they're a Nintendo generation. They're a retro generation. He will not play Gears of War with me. So like, I mean, when I was his age, the greatest experience ever was playing side by side co-op Gears of War, beating Gears of War with my best friend Nathan. That was like the highlight. And I remember the first time I chainsawed through somebody and was just like, yes. He's just like, oh, Dad, this is cringe. This ain't tough. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't get it. They
Go
don't.
kick your ass right now, kid.
Yeah, they don't like. I don't, it's probably good that they don't crave the violence like they
Yeah.
do, or maybe my son just doesn't crave the violence. That's good. You know what I mean? Um, but maybe we were just violent. Violence is fun. If you like some good cartoon violence, there's
Yeah.
plenty here. Yeah, there's no lack thereof of cartoon violence in Once Upon a Hive in the West.
Oh, dude, I remember it was my oldest nephew. We were talking about that with Mortal Kombat, like one of the more recent ones. Because it's so
Hmm.
violent, and I was just like, "Yeah, but it's like Looney Tunes violent." He
Yeah,
goes,
yeah,
"No,"
yeah,
and he's just like, "No, it's not." But I'm like, "It is. It's
yeah.
so over the top. It's
Yeah.
like
So there's not
nobody's out there
really that
ripping
much blood in
skulls out of
that
people."
somebody.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. So it's exaggerating.
yeah,
It's very. Oh, that's what too is. I made a mistake. I told son, my son, I'm a big sci-fi fan. My favorite two movies, hands down, that I'll never be able to say which one is one, which one is two. But Alien and The Thing, and The Thing has such graphic 80s gore,
hmm
which is just its own genre in itself of physical. And he's a big director himself, and so I had him watch The Thing, and like, man, he was just so off put by that level of gore, which again is probably for the best. He's not a psycho like we are, you know, we're all psychos. Um, uh, but yeah, man.
So, have you with having to put all the censorship? And I agree with you. Like, it's bugs. Who gives a fuck? But with all the censorship you had to do with this and dealing with Kickstarter and all that, are you kind of considering this a mature reader's book and maybe trying to push things that way?
Yeah, you know, I stayed away from having too much cussing in there, but the fact of the matter of the content is the content. And so to very much put this spill, um, drones, for people who don't know, are male paper wasps. And if they're born early enough, they're born with the pheromones of queens. And what their jobs to do is to go into other hives, kill all the other males, and then mate with that queen willingly or not. That is a scientific fact. That is a strong premise of what this comic book is. These are drones that are going out, bashing up other hives, mating rival queens, and killing folks. And it just so happens this big bad drone comes across the wrong guy. Comes across the wrong guy. So this is very much a very gritty, Western driven, adult themed, I would say, yeah, it's probably a mature. What do they say? NC-17. I'd say that
Yeah.
NC-17. Um, um, but yeah, there's a lot of graphic nature to it. There's bugs, so there's not a lot of inappropriate sexual nature to it, which I know parents are more scared of sex than they are violence for some reason. But that's an absolute fact. When it comes down to violence, yeah, we got a lot of it. But the theme of this essentially is very classic revenge. There's a lot of brutal scenes, a lot of people being, beaten to death, so to speak. And then it does come into I don't know if you've ever seen uh, um, Bone something, Bone Claw, I want to say it is this old Western movie. But yeah, it's like there are some essence of like, gosh, can I say this? But like Apache rituals and stuff that take place in scalpings and stuff like that. So this is a very gritty approach to things. This is not Rango. This isn't Johnny Depp. Oh, we're just having fun in the West, where
Hmm.
nights people are getting bashed up. Good fun.
What's the HBO um Western where they said fuck every other word? Um,
Westeros.
yeah, Western.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So more, yeah, more on those ends than the kind of kid friendly stuff.
It
But
is. It is. I wanted to keep it fun, and that's why I told Jorge to keep it things a little bit flat when it came to coloring. I think he's still giving that cartoonish feel. Because it is tough to get people to care and anthropomorphize and feel for someone who looks like a bug instead of a human. And you will find as the animation goes on, as Slick Prick loses his mind throughout this series, as does the illustration.
mhm.
So there's going to be a lot of abstract things that I've been working with Billy on that he's just crushed so far that I'm super excited to show you guys. So where we can give this a little Bug Western acid trip for a couple issues or a
Yeah,
couple panels. Yeah.
yeah, it's tough, but it's also, it makes it easier isn't the right word, but more palatable to tackle tough issues. I mean, you mentioned one in your little rant there, what you're going to tackle. So I think it makes it a little bit easier to kind of bring those
Yeah.
aspects in and let people kind of accept them for what they are
Yeah.
and hopefully learn something from them if you did your job
Yeah.
right.
And I'm not a super big fan of shock value, or I don't
Yeah.
believe in gore for the sake of gore and this and that. I read something not too long ago. I don't know if you is it Crossed,
Yes.
but the writer of The Boys, and everything like that. I love that writer, and I saw so many ways where he's trying to go and this and that. There could not be bigger, just like I don't know, poorly done shock value scenes that were written for the. I have a comic book that I'm written that I'm worried about because I know certain scenes are going to be really dark, but I like to think that the writing gets to a place to where this is where we are in darkness,
Hmm.
whereas I'm writing something to get somewhere into darkness, and I feel like that series was just looking for excuses for bad news, but I don't know.
I'm a cross defender. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, but he uses shock value to then later on show you the depravity of man, and
I
that's what
and
makes
I
it
and I
funny.
do and I
Yeah,
do and I get it. But I was like, I was like, man,
it's a rough read. It
it's a
is.
rough read. Hell, look, kudos to be an artist and to pull off, if that's what
Yeah,
felt took place. And
it's
I write really rough horror. Like
yeah.
I write some really rough stuff. I was reading Cross and I was like, well, I've been outdone. Like you've gone. Someone has gone further than I would have gone.
Well, you mentioned the boys earlier. And it's people in my life, and they're like, "Man, the boys is so fucked up." And I'm like, "It's tame compared to the comic book."
100%. 100. Oh, I thought you were talking about the comic book. You're talking about the series. The
No,
series
no,
is
yeah,
nothing
the
compared
show
to
is
the comic
tame.
book.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, dude. So how do you? So you've read it and watched it?
yeah,
Have you finished it?
oh, yeah.
I mean, this may be
We can
just
spoil it
something.
right now. I don't. Yeah, people.
Yeah,
You've
God,
had your
how
chance,
awful.
everybody.
How awful. Can I say this right now? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, watch in real time. Writers ruined something. Watch in real time some of the greatest acting by Anthony Starr. World ending, amazing acting. Can't save your shitty writing. You can write yourself so far into a corner that you have no essence left of what you had. Um, I loved The Boys, the TV show. This final season was trash.
I I love Boys TV show, and then I think they got it's this is a tough conversation because that show is very political. But
I loved the show. It was
I
so bad.
I think they got too much up their own ass with the politics portion of the show
Yeah,
that they lost the plot of
they
the
they, they
show.
forgot that they were writing the show.
Yeah, and
And they belittled every solid character down to nothing, to just no impact.
you killed off the only one of two characters because
Could have
Huey,
been Ryan, could have been Noir.
yeah, Huey is like at the end of the day, it was a good person, and you can really set him off in the sunset. Same
Yeah.
can be said for Frenchie. As fucked up as he is, and as made bad
Yeah.
things he did, he was slowly becoming a better person throughout the series, and you kill him.
And I love the way he was written in the show as opposed to the comics. It's one of the few
Yeah,
characters that I think. So what obviously right away, A Train and Frenchie were done better in the show than they were in the comics. I do think they kind of killed the female's character when they had her start talking, but maybe that's just me. I'll back off. But like the final season, when you're talking about having the last couple hours of your series and you're doing filler, like you're doing filler in the last arc of your series, bro, it was like they didn't know what to do. They had no clue what to do. And it's one of those things to where uh when you set yourself up in writing to where the last thing has to be a big bang, it has to be scorched earth, and they kept on flirting with you getting there, but not getting there. You can only do that for like 2 seasons in a row.
yeah. They needed more villains. That's what they
Yeah.
needed. Yeah,
Or just close it. Fucking just do the storyline. Damn it. Then
it's
there was just so many plot holes. The deep killing Black Noir with a knife is freaking hilarious.
yeah.
He got shot by Gatling gun, but like a little poke. Anyhow,
It's you know what it is. You're a gamer, so maybe you've played this, but the new Final Fantasy VII remakes. I
haven't played it.
okay. So my big gripe with it is that Sephiroth is the big bad of the whole series, and you have to get this climax to get you to this final boss fight with him. You're gonna fight him multiple times throughout the game. He doesn't show up in the first third of the game. Like he's kind of a specter in the distance. When
Yeah.
they remade it, they took the first third of the game, made that one game because money, and
Mhm.
and then he's the big bad throughout it. And I'm like, no, he's not supposed to be in this part. You're
Yeah.
blowing your load on him. Like you need to
Yeah.
figure something else out. Boys did the same thing. Homelander should have been a specter in the background for longer and not this
Hey, Ron,
constant,
go get my
constant threat.
charger and my extension cord. Sorry, I had to yell at somebody. Go get my charger and my extension cord.
Yeah,
No, I agree. And then too, that the big twist that takes place in the comics does so much to keep that story going because Homelander is so confused the entire time too. And like you said too, once they decided they weren't going with that plot, they were like, "How political can we go?"
and I think they did a decent job of like poking fun everywhere for a while there, and then just like gave up on one side. And you can
I
agree or
mean,
disagree with that with people
oh
out there
yeah,
politically, but
100%. They gave up on the fact that
there's
they were making the boys.
yeah, they gave up making the
Yeah,
boys. They gave up on doing political commentary that said like, yeah, these people are terrible, but this is also stupid.
yeah.
So after a quick break, we're back. Yeah, but yeah, good. The boys, good show. Just I didn't care for how they ended things. I think it went on too long. Ironically,
Yeah,
with everything going
I
on.
agree. Well, it cracked me up. So again, if you've read it, Teen Kicks is in like the very beginning. That's like in the way he's testing out Wee Huey to see if he's going to be good for the boys.
Yeah.
And in the last season, they start introducing Teen Kicks characters like just cuz,
Hmm.
and like the Teen Kicks characters got more screenplay than the Seven did in the final season of The Boys. And like that to me, like if you've read it and like, oh god, it's so good. just it's just. But I enjoyed every step of the way. Anthony Mac, not Anthony Mackie, Jesse T. Usher, his A Train, his death scene, everything flawless. Loved it.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great full circle. There was some great full circle moments in that last season. Don't get me wrong, but I just, yeah, as a whole, I didn't love it like I did
No,
previous season.
I think Invincible is going to do a better job sticking somewhat to the story, and they'll be the better series because of it.
Well, speaking of Invincible, I've been talking for a while. I think that comics are starting to learn the manga lesson, which is that you have a successful manga, you make the anime,
Yeah.
and then it makes the manga more successful. Adult
Well,
animation, I think, is going to be that version for comics, and we're seeing it
yeah.
with Invincible. There's going to be a Powers cartoon soon, and
And
a
in
Radiant Black.
Dungeons and Dragons too, that whole world is getting pushed into the animated series world now, which is great for the whole culture of it.
Hmm.
But what I was going to say is on that is we also better pay attention and start properly using the budget for these TV shows. When you're talking about some of the anime that is done with like a tenth of the budget Invincible's doing and just look gorgeous. And I'm one of the people that I'll hate on Invincible's animation all day.
Hmm.
Like I know it can't be as solid as the comic books. I'm not asking for that, but there's no lighting, there's no shadowing. It is the internet has already said exactly what I'm saying is they could easily make this so much better, especially with the massive budget they have to do this.
Well, I think they are slowly going down that path because the problem Invincible had is stunt casting. Everybody on that show for the first three seasons was a big name, like somebody you knew. And Kirkman was obsessed with like having people who people knew so he could do that screen before every season and be like, look who we have on the show. And
Yeah,
as opposed to getting professional voice actors who, I mean, fair, unfair, a little bit cheaper, and put that into the end product as opposed to just the cast. And you're seeing that because you see like a few characters have already been recast because they were stunt casting, and and they're like, oh yeah, we don't need this. We can get a voice actor to do it just the same, and it's nobody's even a lot
the
of people have
exact same
noticed that
thing.
the stuff changed in season four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a good story, so you'll always watch it. But like, it is one of those things where I've read the series 3 or 4 times, and to see certain thing like when they did the ring around the Viltrumites, the ring around Viltrumite, Planet Viltrumite, like that in the comic books, and it's been everywhere online. Everybody's doing the side by side comparisons of all these. So I guess I'm just talking to the wind, being the thousandth person to say it. But I do hope if we are learning to take these comic books and push them into animated series, give them some respect because a lot of the quality from panel to panel is what made some of these series so good.
Yeah.
Uh,
It it's also I get people are going to say like we have a long history of animated comic book adaptations. What got me in the comics was Batman the Animated Series, so I understand this.
right, right,
But in the modern age and today,
yeah,
Invincible is proving the point that people will come to watch an adult-oriented animated show.
yeah, and that it can be geared towards adults as the entirety of the genre.
Yeah,
And then the getting heavier and heavier stuff, which is great because everybody's been kind of looking for that. Which is kind of why one of the reasons why I like Once Upon a Hive of the Left. It's heavy. It's got this and that. It's got grab. It's got bloodshed and all this and all that. It doesn't have to be everything animated no longer has to be kiddie. And so, and I do think, and everybody's, giving their roses to Marvel for that as to really streamlining or mainstreaming, comic books to an extent or comic book fandom.
yeah, yeah, and it's a never-ending cycle because I mean you can keep going back and back and back and back, but for my life it's DC. Even though I'm not a big DC fan, more of a Marvel fan. Dude, Batman animated series and those early Batman movies as a kid, right alongside Star Wars, is like the pinnacle things I watched
Yeah,
as a kid that like turned me into what I am today.
yeah.
So
I'm definitely the classic cliche of Marvel TV, Marvel movie, DC comics.
yeah,
I'm heavily, and that's just because too a lot of that comes from gaming. Like them pairing Injustice the video game with the comic book was, oh my gosh, it was so good. And so literally you're bouncing back and forth Injustice. Literally there's gaps in the comic book that leave room for the game itself
Yeah,
to get the full story. That was
that
brilliant
comic
for
was
me.
so fucking good, man.
Love it.
And
Love it.
I think DC and Warner uh, missed out on a good opportunity because they could have kept that going even longer if they just had
Oh yeah.
Injustice 3 come out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'll say this though, this push, this absolute push is the biggest thing I've ever seen as a comic book fan. Since I've been like an adult aware of a comic book world, um, this absolute push has been it's been unreal to me. Because Absolute Wonder Woman, I'm actively reading that with my daughter. Like, Absolute Batman, everybody, it is so freaking good. Martian Manhunter is probably even better. Like they're just better after better after better. When you get to a series run by DC, and Superman's probably the worst of all those different issues, they're doing something that's wild right now. So I've never seen a one book or one series take so much of the share right now of what's going on in the comic book world.
Yeah, that whole Absolute line is insane. Like, as somebody who loves, and I mean loves, the Ultimate Universe, the
Yeah,
Absolute Universe is making a argument for being better.
yeah,
It's still early, everybody.
I
So
love it.
like, we had almost a decade of Ultimate Comics. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like crowning winners in the first quarter. So
Oh, they got a long way to go. But
yeah.
I'm still a mega Image guy too. I grew up with all the Image comics, and then I don't know if you've read or if you started reading Dork yet, but Dork is great. Man, it's was it half dwarf, half orc, all
Hmm.
dork.
Yeah, Brett Bean.
Absolutely check that out. Yeah, that's great. And then I'm reading Ghost Pepper too. Ghost Pepper's great.
Okay. I
Highly recommend Ghost Pepper.
I've turned into, so I still buy a lot of Marvel, DC, and certain creator owned stuff. So speaking of bugs, Bug Wars is like one of my favorite creator owned books. But I'm turning into a trade waiter. Like, I honestly, what's doing it for me right now, those soft cover compendiums that everybody's making.
Yeah,
That's like 50 issues of their comic for $50. I'm like,
yeah,
fuck yeah, I'll buy those
can't
all.
beat
I
it.
got stacks of those.
Yeah.
The miss is like, why do we have all these phone books? I go, they're not, they're comics. But that's been my thing recently. And then just following my superhero addiction, just going back and forth there.
Yeah,
But yeah, I cut out a lot of the month just because of. I mean, look behind me. There's not enough room,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
But it's tough. So as we sit here today talking, because we've been going for a while, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I
No, all
appreciate
right.
you being here. Uh, you have not launched the project as we're talking today. When people are listening to this, it will be live.
Yes.
What can those people expect when they get to the page? What's your funding goal? What kind of rewards are we pumping out there? Those kinds of things.
Gotcha. All right. So when we get to the page, you figure out we're going to have a 30-day goal like everybody else. It's going to be launching June 1st. Our goal is going to be for 1,500. We have a number of wide variety of tiers for everybody to get involved. If you just want to check out the story, if you want to start getting involved with the brand, but we have anywhere from our digital copy to our physical copies. Now, our physical copies are all going to come with our little sticker package deal. We have cover A, which is going to be done by Billy Makaya Kanza and Jorge Elias, and cover B, that's done by Noah Carabella. We have also have a cover bundle to where you can get both of those covers A and B bundled together. Above that tier, we're going to have a T-shirt tier, as well as we have a sticker, poster, T-shirt cover bundle all together. And we're also doing something a little bit wacky. We have something called Art by DK, to which I have 5 by 5 by 8.5 prints that we're going to be doing for either pasta arts or charcoal arts. But yeah, we're going to have digital copies, physical copies, swag bundles with t-shirts and posters, all that jazz. We're also going to be having 3 stretch goals. If we can get to 2,000, we'll start. I have prints for page 6 that I mentioned is by far my favorite page. Black and white prints signed by B and Billy, who's going to be our penciler on that right there. If we can get to 2,500, I'm going to sign copies of the script and have those delivered out. If we can get to 3,000, anybody that's in our high roller tier or high roller plus tier, we're moving all cover A's to a holographic cover. We're going straight from a basic all the way to a holographic upgrade if we can get to 3K.
Very nice. We comics people do like shiny things. So.
I like shiny things. Get the high rollers things so I can afford to get you those shiny things because that triples the cost of that book to me. So,
The price I see here, does that include shipping?
shipping we will be paid with through Kickstarter, but I do have listed as anything domestic is going to be $9. Anything outside of that is going to be $23. And if it turns out to be further, because I do have some fans apparently in Angola and Portugal, if we end up getting any sales out there, if it's over 23, I'll communicate with you via survey for you to cancel that order or pay the additional funding that it's going to cost to get it sent over to you. But yeah, that's we are going to have shipping's going to go through your Kickstarter when you pay when they collect at $9 for domestic, and that most of that's going to be coming from the actual shipping material prices going up, and it's pricey.
Yeah, it's insane what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. Shipping materials are just as much as it takes to print a book these days. It's terrible.
Yeah, yeah, because you gotta have those nice, what are they called? The diamond mailers. Gotta have them.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep everything pretty. We're going to have a nice little slip that goes in, keep your materials. And also, too, everybody keeping this in mind, when we get to the t-shirts and the higher, bigger bundles, they'll be coming in uh, much bigger boxes, keep everything clean, separated, and everything still pretty in there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anything else you want to say about the book before we kind of wrap everything up today?
Well, y'all are going to be seeing this while we're live, so come and check us out live. Back us. Anything you can do is great. It helps us continue this next issue and telling more stories. Come and join us in Bisbee, Arizona. Let's make slip paper wing and I'll drop pop. Get everything you can. Physical rewards. We're going to be accepting late backers. We're also going to have some early bird rewards for our first 5-day peoples, making sure we have everything that's sent to you physical signed by as many artists as we can get it signed to.
Definitely. And your online presence, you talked a little about social media earlier. Where can people find all that social media?
Yeah, DiscoPunkComics on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Our website will be coming about a week after y'all are seeing this view. So when you see us at around June 10th, we're going to have our website live as well. But most importantly, check us out on our Kickstarter. Check us out on our Instagram for any live updates on the Kickstarter as well.
Awesome. So everybody, check out the show notes down below. I'll have the link to the Kickstarter, which is the only thing you need. You just need to go down there and click on that link, check it out. I'm sure you're going to fall in love and back the project, but also to all of David's social media. So check all that out as well. And yeah, hopefully everybody goes on there and backs it. David, it's been a pleasure talking with you. We
Yes,
definitely
sir.
have to do this again. Maybe when the next big movie or something comes out, we can just sit and
Yeah,
talk about movies or something.
give our
But
movie reviews.
but it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Just best of luck with the campaign.
Hey, but thank you. I appreciate you.